Hi, and welcome to HUR at Home. Tonight it's all about lifestyle. I'm your host, Angela Stribling, and I'm so excited. I know I'm always excited because we have such great guests. And we're all sitting at home, so we might as well learn a little something and be entertained at the same time. Well, we've got a friend of mine on. We've been friends for many, many, many years. He's so talented. His name is Marcus Johnson. I know you already know who he is. He's a keyboardist. He has his own brand of wine, Flow. And we're going to talk to him in a few minutes, but we're going to talk to someone else. In fact, they're both law graduates from Georgetown University. I don't know if they know each other, but they're going to meet tonight. Ryan Wilson has something that I know you're going to be interested in. He's an entrepreneur, and he's got the Gathering Spot, soon to be the Gathering Spots. Hi, Ryan. Welcome.
Hi, good to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad to finally meet you. I have heard about the Gathering Spot for a while. It's such a great concept based in Atlanta. And I want you to tell us all about that. But first and foremost, with everything going on in the world right now, how are you doing?
Well, again, I appreciate the opportunity to join you. I'm doing okay. I mean, these are definitely extraordinary times. To face two different pandemics or crises at the same time has been something that's been totally not a part of our 2020 plans. But we're doing okay. How are you?
I'm doing well too. Thank you for asking. You know, personally and working from home like many other people. Being an entrepreneur, you have this amazing concept, the Gathering Spot. But, you know, like you said, two major things that are happening at the same time. It has done a number on all businesses, most businesses. So how has the pandemic in particular affected the Gathering Spot in Atlanta?
So to give a little bit of context, the Gathering Spot is a private membership club. By way of space, we have event space, a restaurant and bar, and workspace. I like to say we're more in the community business than the space business, and I'll explain why that's been important to us. But from a space perspective, last year we hosted 2,400 events, and that's anything from cocktail parties to seated plated dinners to movie screenings. And so to be the Gathering Spot and not have the ability to gather in person has been a challenge. And then we also do operate a restaurant and bar. So for a couple of months, that part of the business wasn't open as well. And so it was challenging. I mean, we spent most of March and April and through May trying to make sure that the community was able to stay together. But from a business perspective, I mean, we definitely have felt the consequences of COVID.
Yeah. Tell me about that. When you say making sure the community stays together, what have you been doing?
So there are a lot of different activities. The membership at TGS is really interesting. The youngest member is 21. The oldest member is 88. We have entrepreneurs. We have folks that work for some of the large organizations in town. We have a lot of people in Atlanta in the creative, a lot of people in music and film. And so our goal since we opened has been trying to figure out ways to connect that community to one another. The programming that we host at the club is some of the ways that the club is probably the best, well known. And for the small business community, specifically going into COVID, we saw some really terrible stats. I mean, for example, 40% of Black-owned businesses have been reported not to be able to make it by the end of the year. And we wanted to make sure that that was not our fate and the fate of anybody in our community. So a lot of our efforts have been in establishing a fund, in sharing different resources, and making sure that business owners were able to connect to different things that they needed to kind of get through this time period. And as recently as last week, have had some initiatives to make sure that dollars were circulating in the community. So we got close to circulating $500,000 over like a 3 or 4 day period. Going into my birthday was this past Monday, so we're crying. So thank you.
Happy belated birthday! What a way to celebrate! You know, to give. That's a wonderful way to celebrate. You know, and let's just walk it back a little bit. I mentioned at the top of this that you're a graduate. You have a law degree from Georgetown University in Washington, D.C. Did you always know you wanted to be an entrepreneur, or what kind of law? Okay, so tell us how this happened. How did it happen?
It's funny where life takes you. I had no expectation of being an entrepreneur. My parents are actually entrepreneurs. And I didn't want to start a business at all. I wanted to be a lawyer. And for me growing up, the ability to help people, I saw myself best being able to do that if I was able to kind of exercise my what was hoped would be my strength in utilizing the law. That was completely taken off track when I got to law school. So I went to Georgetown, as you mentioned, and between my first year and my second year of law school, I was back here in Atlanta working for a law firm. A lot of things went on that summer, but one thing that happened in particular, that it was the same summer as Trayvon Martin's case. And so George Zimmerman was acquitted at the end of the summer, and I got an email from some of my friends who were living in DC that said, "What are we going to do next?" And my response back to them was basically the idea for the gathering spot, that we needed to create a place where people could come together, where we could work to try to solve these issues. And ultimately, people knew that they kind of were able to stay rooted with a group of people that shared similar interests. And so I finished law school, but decided to pursue TGS full time after I graduated.
Wow. And, you were talking about events, 2,400, did you say, last year? So is it open to the public just for regular service, like, they want to come for dinner, or is it primarily an event space?
No, so we're by category, we're a private club. And so the best way to think about the club is that we're like a country club without the golf, but rooted in culture and community. So what that means for us is that there have been two demographics that have traditionally been excluded from the private club space. It's women and Black folks. So women make up 60% of our membership base, and Black folks make up about 70% of the membership base. So from a culture and community perspective, that is the way that we kind of build everything that we do. But it's much more of a city club or a private club than we are an event space or a workspace or a restaurant. We have those things, but you have to be a member of the community in order to access them.
That's wonderful. Now, we're saying the gathering spot right now, but you have aspirations. In fact, you're already actively getting ready to start some new ones. One in Washington.
So we're on our way. The plan from the beginning was we understood that people were on the go, and we wanted to make sure that the home that we were building in Atlanta, folks travel, right? And we wanted to make sure that we were able to build and have communities in other cities that made sense for what we were trying to get accomplished. So DC, given the time that I lived there, was always really important for us to establish a club. And we've been in construction for forever. It's interesting building a project during this time, but we're nearing completion, and we'll be open this fall in DC. I have another club scheduled to open in LA. We'll start construction on that club shortly.
So you said this fall in DC, and where is it going to be, if I may ask?
So we're at 17th and I Street in DC, right off of the Farragut. Thank you. It took a long time to find a place in DC, but downtown we're block off the metro, and I'm really excited about that club. It's over 3 stories, and so the same components that we have in Atlanta, event space, a restaurant and bar, and workspace, are also going to be in the club in DC. But again, the community is really what I'm most inspired by, and that community is already forming. So there's a growing group of members in DC that meet for all the different functions that we would host in Atlanta without the space, but we'll soon have access to the club as soon as we finish construction.
So membership only, how does one get a membership? I mean, is there some kind of criteria that you have to meet? Only the cool people can come. How do you do it?
No, so I mean, I appreciate that question. For us, it's less of a function of exclusivity and really just trying to make sure that we facilitate an environment where good people have the ability to meet other good people. And that's across professional and kind of social lines that you traditionally would see. And that's what the application is process is there more for. But if you go on our website, thegatheringspot.club, you can start the process there. Our team will get in contact with you. We do have an interview, and that gives us an opportunity to get to know you better. And again, going back to this idea of being able to facilitate good connections with that information, we were able to build programs, but that also make one-to-one connections that I think have been really powerful here in Atlanta. And I see a good start happening in DC.
Listen, it's such a great idea. And you might have to open one in Texas. I'm looking at the comments. Bernie Menard said he's been trying to rally people out here in Beaumont, Texas for something like this. I mean, you've got it in Atlanta. It's successful. You're getting ready to come to DC. Then you're going to LA. I mean, are you open to just having a franchise where other people can buy into it?
So we're not pursuing a franchise model, but our thesis has been always to build at minimum 10 clubs across the country. So I appreciate everyone from Texas that is interested. I spent a lot of time there pre-COVID, looking in a lot of the big cities in Texas. I think that there are many cities that are a good fit for us. So before long, we'll break ground in Texas, I'm sure, and then in other states across the country too. Again, folks are on the road, and what we're trying to solve for here is building a new type of private club. And I think that the need for that, or at least I'm hopeful the need for that is it exists around the country.
Right. And right now the spotlight is on Black business, support Black businesses by Black. Are people responding? I mean, do you find that people are actively trying to support you now more than before?
So I wouldn't say more than before. I mean, we're a business founded by Black folks for Black folks, and so this isn't. While I appreciate everyone that's new to this party, this is where we've always been kind of rooted and interested. I think some unique partnerships will be formed during this time period, and again, I'm excited about some of that work, but the energy behind what we always wanted to do with the gathering spot was to create a place where folks would be more than tolerated, but would be celebrated. And so, again, that's not a new value for us. We were started with that same sort of purpose and intention. So this time period has been more of us trying to make sure that we were positioned to do more of the work that we've historically been doing. Again, we haven't done anything new or expressed any new values. I'm happy that we're seeing interest there, but that's not our history.
Yeah. Well, I'm just glad that people are seeking you out and responding. So are you back open now for business in Atlanta?
So we thought it was really important to open at the end of May, and given what was going on in the country and frankly the need for many members of our community to be able to have space to get work done and also meet one another, we decided to open our doors. Tough decision. We were legally allowed to open 30 days before we actually did. Held back given the disproportionate impact that COVID was having, specifically on the Black community in Atlanta. We were majority of hospitalizations, majority of any bad stat was out there. It applied to Black folks in a very disproportionate way here, and I think we're seeing that across the country.
Oh yeah.
But we're back open. We're back doing the work. This club in Atlanta, and I hope for the clubs that we'll build, plays a role in the conversation that we're having in this city. And so we thought it was important to make sure that our doors are open.
One of our, I guess, viewers right now just enlightened me that you're a big advocate for Black people responding to the census. You want to talk about that?
Sure. The census and voting generally, I mean, two different things, but I think very important issues that we engage regularly. I mean, earlier this evening, I hosted a fundraiser for Reverend Warnock, who's running for Senate here, with Senator Booker. Right. So the club has always been engaged in trying to make sure that we're highlighting very important issues. No more important issue right now than the census. If we are not counted as a community, the consequences are extreme, right? So we've got to make sure that everybody participates. I joined Leader Stacey Abrams' organization, Fair Count. They had an initiative specifically trying to make sure that Black men were counted in the census, given that group is Black men were the most undercounted group in the state. And so, yes, a huge advocate for trying to make sure that we make that our voices are counted there. And then also with voting. I mean, voter suppression is a real thing. We've got to make sure that our elected officials know who we are and what we care about, and make sure that we show up as a group to make sure that the folks that we want in office are elected.
Good for you. I mean, and just to take the spookiness out of turning in your census form for a lot of people, because people have a lot of misconceptions that have been around for decades, and thinking, they're trying to I don't know, Big Brother is just trying to find me or watch me. If you're not counted, a lot of money that could go to your community is not going to find you. There are so many reasons to respond to the census. So I'm glad that you're out here and preaching that to the community, because you do have a good platform. And I'm so happy to see that you're using it to, really help people. For you to be so young, you just turned 30 on your birthday, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right?
I did. I'm 30 now.
30, the whole 30. No, it's really incredible. And to see that you're just moving forward so, swiftly, and you're making such smart moves to own a business right now. And it's not just, I'm just going to open up this business, but you're truly helping people and bringing the community together.
We've been saying here at the Gathering Spot during this era that we all we got, right? And that phrase is important to me because, I mean, it's true in me.
It's freezing up, but I hope it comes back. I don't know if it's just me seeing you freeze. Gosh, and you were saying such good stuff. All right, Ryan. Well, in the meantime, I guess I was going to have a transition and have you say hello to our next guest, Ryan Wilson. Wow, I'm just so proud of him. He's not gone. It's just frozen. We're having a little bit of a technical glitch. But while we recover from that, I would love for my friend to come and join me. Marcus Johnson has been a Washington, D.C. darling ever since he, I don't know, maybe ever since he just let everybody know what he's doing. He's a pianist, and that's when he first came on my radar, and, has since started his own brand of wine. Who does that? So he's here to tell us all about what he's doing lately. I know he's been performing back out here lately, being brave and bringing music to people. So if I could, if I had a soundtrack for an applause, I would. Ladies and gentlemen, Marcus Johnson. Come on over here, Marcus. This is as close as we could get.
It's all good. How you doing?
I'm good. You look great. Hello, my friend.
Hey, how you doing? Great interview with Ryan, by the way.
Wasn't that good stuff? Your teammate, I mean, he's a little bit younger, but man, doing great things. And I was telling him that you're also a law graduate from Georgetown, but didn't you have a double major, if I'm not mistaken? Didn't you get your MBA and your law degree?
I sure did.
At the same time? That's crazy.
Yeah, I unlike Ryan, I basically knew that I was not going to be a lawyer when I was going to school. And I was going there to equip myself with the tools to be able to come back out here and fight the things that we're fighting right now and that have been illuminated in the last, couple of months. In particular.
Right. That was why you went to law school.
Yeah. I had a record deal that went bad, and I didn't know anything about the industry. And I said the only way that I'll never end up back on this side of the desk is to make sure that I equip myself with the knowledge and the capabilities and resources to be able to read contracts properly, to be able to develop and implement my own strategy. And many of us didn't have that. And even through my clerkships, there are very few people that look like us in those law firms. As Ryan was saying, he had a law firm, worked at a law firm. I actually clerked at the general counsel's office at MCA Universal my first summer. And then my second summer, I was like, yeah, so about this, I'm doing my music. And that's when I started working on Lessons in Love.
Wow, good for you. I guess you're like, listen, let me just figure out how this whole thing works. I'm not just an artist. I am, being an artist in itself is amazing, but you equip yourself with so much more. So you look good. I saw that you had a really nice Father's Day post. Your daughter, is she learning how to play keyboard? What's going on?
Man, so she's learning how to play keyboard. Unfortunately, my daughter suffers from an IgA deficiency, or has an IgA deficiency, where she doesn't build or make the hormones that helps her to fight infection. So she went away to her mother's or to her aunt's house with her mom, was it March 13th?
Oh, wow.
And the 15th, they locked everything down. So Chase has not been with me physically for almost 3 months now. So if you know
Oh,
me and
no,
my
so
daughter,
bananas.
if you know me and my daughter, it's rough, and we
Hmm.
talk every day. She actually called. I did an interview before this one. She called, and we talked last night, and she's like, Dad, just thanks for being a great dad. And
Oh,
for your 7-year-old to say that,
hmm.
that is
Although that's
that.
good at any age.
Right,
But
exactly. It is. I mean, it's great at any age. It's just, it's neat to see. It's neat to watch her grow. And I always say I can't love her anymore. Then there's no more love I could give. I love this girl with everything, and it's like the next day, it's like, oh my God, I love her even more. So
oh,
that's being a dad is the greatest job I have.
oh, I love it. And Marcus, we've known each other. I think the first time I saw you, I was hosting a show in Baltimore, and I saw you on something, and I was like, wow, this guy's talented. And from there, I don't remember the first time actually meeting you, but do you remember? Was it at BET?
It was during BET, and it may have been just in passing when we were taping Jazz Central. If you remember that, the BETJ stuff. And
I
then,
know.
huh?
I know, back in the day. But one thing that everyone always said is that, you're so focused on your craft and you're always out there. A lot of artists, figure, oh, I'll saturate the market. I'm just going to do a little bit in the hometown or where I live, and I'll do most of my performing out, in other cities. You went a different route. And for as long as I've known you, you've always, with the exception of this pandemic, but you're always out there, you're always performing, you're always visual, and you're always selling the house out. Every time you perform at Blues Alley, not just one day, not just 2 days, the whole doggone time sells out. So I don't think there's a such thing as oversaturating the market.
Oh, not really. And again, it's the stuff you learn in your programs in school. And this is why I try, I teach at Howard. I've been teaching at Howard, and a couple other schools, the whole idea of the music business and being an entrepreneur in the business and really understanding your industry.
Mhm.
And, you look at it for those 4 nights that I play Blues Alley, 2 shows a night, we're putting almost 1,000 people through Blues Alley and in those 4 days. And, if I look at my numbers and all my demographics, and it's saying that I have 30,000 to 50,000 fans in Washington, D.C., I should be able to do that for 50 weekends. I should be able to do that every single weekend until I cycle through the fans. And then you start working with other, cities and running those same numbers. And now with, Facebook analytics, being able to understand the actual consumer behavior, what they want, where you're doing well, looking at your Pandora, Spotify plays, you can hyper target the market. And so it is something I coach other artists on. It's things I coach businesses on, as it relates to just marketing and understanding your consumer base. You can build that relationship, and they know when you come in, you're coming in to give them this great performance. Or even, we're trying to help Keystone Corner out this weekend, and we've been selling tickets during COVID and physical distancing for a gig on Saturday.
Yeah.
And it's all in how you present it and the trust that they have in you to not put them in a dangerous situation and to let them know, be careful. But hey, look, somebody's got to step out here, to see what we can do. Let's be safe about it. I'm not going to be hugging everybody like I usually do. I'm not going to be doing a whole bunch of things.
Anybody.
Exactly, right?
I saw your ad. So, okay, so it's what is the name of the place again? Keystone Corner in Baltimore, right?
In Baltimore.
So what's this going to look like? And how do you feel about actually getting back out there in a club performing with, some people you don't know what their health really is like? What do you anticipate this looking like?
So there are a couple things. This is definitely, we are in the middle of in some phase of a pandemic. What I would argue though is that you never really know where somebody is coming from when I play around the world. I travel sometimes, and I hate taking, long flights from like Seattle to DC and stopping somewhere like Denver, because there are more touch points for me to catch a cold. And
Right.
especially in the winter with my asthma, you already have these things going on. So what do? I know we said we never be like, people in China or, people that are walking around with masks everywhere.
Right.
But we're at a point in time where that may be the prudent thing to do.
Baby,
And,
they've been doing this for so long.
Right. And so now, okay, I'm going to put a mask on. I can still play for you. I can still, I can see, wait, hold up, so-and-so's coughing. I might be this way. But like, if I go to the grocery store, it's the same thing, man. And not that I'm telling you to go out and be with, thousands of people, like some people, and we'll leave that one alone. But what I am saying is, like, this club has reduced their capacity. This club has reduced their capacity by 60%, where they usually hold about 220. It's 80 people. They put up plexiglass in between the booths. All of the tables are physically distanced 6 feet away. So we have to do 2 shows. Depending on the ticket sales, if we can only get enough sold for, the 8 o'clock, we're going to just do the 8 to walk people back into, hey, look, if you social distance, if you wear your mask, because this thing, having 2 sisters that are physicians talk to me and talk me through it because I needed to be talked through it. If you wear your mask, this is really traveling by particles, right? And by particles coming from your lungs. If they have their masks on, your chances of catching or passing, even if you're asymptomatic, is significantly reduced.
Yeah, which is why you really have to be so careful, especially, I didn't know you had asthma, but you've got to be extra careful because.
Yeah, I mean, and for me, and I know that I'm also, it's almost like, I mean, musicians in a way are if we're not first responders, we're like 1.5 responders, because we provide the soundtrack for therapy for most people out here in their lives. And, if you are an avid live music listener, it's just like, if you're like Ryan is saying with the gathering spot, if that was your escape to be able to get in your mindset to put that business plan together so that you could get, a $10 million funding or $50 million or $100 million funding, and you can't get it, it's really, how do we do this where we keep our people safe, but we let them back in so that we can provide our service? And it is if anything, we should have learned through COVID that we are really all connected, regardless of race, regardless of socioeconomic status, etc. We're all in this together. So put your mask on. I will wink at you. I ain't hugging you. But I love you.
There you go. You know what? It's so, and I love everything you said, and you're right. I mean, it's a good way to gradually get out there, be smart, do it right this time, and we can do it a whole lot more. And I Darlene wrote, and the flow wine helps to ease the anxiety. Yes, it will.
Since you all brought that up, there you go, right there, girlie. There you go.
And I want to talk a little bit more about that. Ryan is back, and it's unfortunate that we had to get rid of him, from the screen because it froze up. I want to introduce you, both of you, Georgetown University law graduates, Marcus Johnson, Ryan Wilson, 2 entrepreneurs. You did the school proud.
Good to meet you, Marcus. Hoy Saxon.
My pleasure, man. Hoy Saxon to you too, man.
The wine in the club.
Oh, most definitely. I mean, and I don't know who we were talking to, but we're talking about, like, when you come to DC and you do your opening, would love to be a part of that and figure out a way to, use and leverage, whatever we have with Flo and Marcus Johnson to let people know what's going on. Because I'm a member of the Cosmos Club, and when you're talking about what I'm looking for, and I always, from the beginning of seeing the business plan that you all put together, it has been something where I need my space. I don't necessarily want to put on a tie and a jacket to go hang out at, it's a very prestigious place, no doubt about it. But I'm looking forward to it, brother. How about that? And whatever I can do to help you.
I appreciate you. And that's what we do. Honestly, the food that we serve, the products that we have inside of the club, most of them are Black owned. And that's very important to me. So I'd love to get something done.
Gosh,
so Ryan, I know we didn't get a chance to really let people know how they can try to get a membership from you and just really get involved in everything that you're doing. lost you before we could get to that. So for people who are interested in, people who are watching in Atlanta, people who are watching in DC and would love to be a part of it, how do they do it?
So thank you for that question. If you go to thegatheringspot.club or you go to anything on social media at The Gathering Spots, you can find information about the club. We're extremely responsible on all platforms, so give us a shout on any platform that works best for you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for being with us. And for people to connect with you on social media, how do they do that?
At The Gathering Spots, and I'm personally at Spot On RW on all platforms. So
Perfect.
Again, I appreciate the opportunity and look forward to connecting with you in DC. I'll be there soon.
Wonderful. Marcus is going to be at your grand opening, I'm sure.
Oh, and telling everybody about it too. You don't have to worry about that.
There you go. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure, Ryan.
Y'all have a good evening.
You too. Oh, that was wonderful. Yeah, that's good stuff. So we were talking about your amazing wine. How did that even start? How did you get into Flow Wines?
It's one of those things, kind of like Ryan was talking about, a matter of happenstance in some respects. I love wine. And in 2004 and 2005, the music industry hit a big snag in like MP3.com and peer-to-peer services. Mm-hmm. So you saw large, what were at the time large monthly payments shrink literally within 6 months to half. And by 9 months, you're looking at a third of or a quarter of what you were making 9 months before. And, it meant that we had to pivot. And that was the beginning of Flow as a company and a concept, meaning for the love of. I used to go into Target and see the Lifescapes kiosk that was right next to the cards. And it had like music to for the rain and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, well, we can do that. So we had Flow Chill, Flow Standards, and Flow Romance. And we put all those CDs out back in 2007. They all debuted in the top 5, top 15, top 10, and top 5 of the Billboard charts. And I say, actually, when the Billboard charts actually meant something, that you were selling units. And the music industry still didn't change. It was going downhill. You had iTunes that was doing some things, but, had a complete throttle, pullback on how you could engage with your audience. The record stores were screaming and closing. We lost Tower, then we lost Borders.
Yeah, that's right.
Right. So
imagine that.
And not to mention for independent jazz, the Black-owned independent record coalitions were huge for us. And they were really, right at the same time we lost brands like Tower, we lost a lot of the larger independent stores in large cities.
Yeah. And
I was like, okay, so I was in my studio one day and I was looking out of the window when I turned my light off and I was like, dear Lord, I am using my best brain. I don't know what to do next. And that's when the whole idea of really when Flow came up, and it was like, well, yeah, we have this thing that's for lovers only, but that's not scalable. And it was like, it's not for lovers only, it's for the love of. That's why you're doing this. You're doing this for the love of. And I was like, oh my God, I turned on the lights. I started emailing people at the company. I'm like, so what do you think about for the love of versus for lovers only? They're like, man, I love for the love of. So started down that path and really started looking around and recognizing that the people who were enjoying my music were, hip hop graduates who, loved wine, specifically women that were digging, our vibes and getting their guys to come out to hear us play. And the guys might have a Hennessy or this, and they would have a glass of wine. So aligning the target demographics on that, from that perspective help. And then, man, just really in that same session, recognizing that I'm not really in the music business. I mean, Angela, we're not in the music business. We're actually in the therapy business. We're in the faith and healing business. And when you recognize that, then you can say like, well, what can I put together for a therapeutic experience? Yeah. Let me see. How about some Marcus Johnson and some wine that we create under this brand called Flow? And that was it. Put the business plan together. And again, it's going through its, 4th or 5th iteration right now. But to have been able to do this and leverage the Marcus Johnson brand and keep it going, even in these crazy times, it's been a real blessing.
That's such a blessing. And you've been at it for a while. You've had your music career for a long time. You've had this wine for a while. And I love that you're back out there. When I was talking to Ryan earlier, I said there's even more of a spotlight on supporting Black businesses. What I don't want to see happen is what happens all the time. People are looking for the hookup, when, you know what I mean? People, if it's a Black business, they're like, okay, let me just say it this way. So, I sing jazz.
Say it like you were about to say it. I want you to say it like.
Well, no, I'm going to say it like this. So, I'm a jazz singer. I traveled the world singing jazz as well. And, I like to perform in clubs. I'll sing at the Blue Note. And our former general manager of the radio station, Jim Watkins, would come to every single concert. He'd always be there with his wife, sometimes, with another coworker, but he'd always come. And I didn't know he was coming. So I'd always say, Jim, why didn't you let me know you were coming? And I would have put you on the guest list. He goes, never. I'm never going to tell you that I'm coming because I don't want to be on the guest list, because if I'm going to support you, I'm going to support you. And that means buy a ticket.
Yeah.
I love that so much. I mean, whereas most people, they'll call me up. Could you put me on your guest list? It's kind of a first thought, and it's unfortunate that
I get calls from people all the time that are like, the day of, and then they don't even give you the respect of like calling you 2 weeks out and saying, can you put me on your guest list? They call you like the day before, the day of, when you're planning. Like, I plan, I am not last minute. And, so if I'm getting ready to get on a plane, I'm trying to spend time with my loved ones, my girl, kids, everything like that, my mom, whatever, to get ready so that I can get on a plane and give my best performance. Then you get a barrage of emails that are just like, or text, hey, you got an extra ticket for tonight? And it's just like, I think it's inconsiderate in many ways that you don't give people like a heads up. Now, if you do it once in a while and you're my boy and we hang out, you should know that you're on my list anyway. I got you. But it's the ones that are like, you're coming to my town. I know you got a gig. Can I get in and can I bring somebody with me? And, and with wine, it's the same way. And
that's what I was wondering.
Yeah, man. I mean, come on, man. Number one, the questions that are insulting are, is your wine good? Right. And the thing is like, do your diligence.
Well, buy it, try it, and tell me.
Man, on those, I kind of just keep walking, because you want to say like, dude, like, is what you do good, right? Do you expect that somebody's going to put my stuff in the store if it's not good? Because as we're seeing, the people who are making the decisions, especially in the wine industry, are not African American, and they really are not giving us consideration. When you look at most shelves that in grocery stores have 1,200 bottles of wine, of which maybe one slot is for an African American owned brand. And it's not because we're not knocking at the doors. It's because we have been systematically shut out of it. And, before, when you would say that, people would be like, well, you're just da 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 da. Look, it is a systematic neglect. Like, they just ignore, like, I don't have to pay attention to you. And I'm not. And so, part of it is the structural thing that we're addressing right now, and getting people who understand that, like, hey, look, if you sell, $100 million worth of groceries in Prince George's County, you might want to take into consideration, the fact that these brands, bringing brands in that look like the people who are buying this stuff, and then making sure that we hold them accountable, because we haven't been holding them accountable. But what we'll do is we'll come to Marcus and be like, well, is your wine good? Man, get out of my face. I mean, like, I don't have time for you, right? Like, I if you want to find out what awards we won, cool. Forbes just wrote us up in an article. Cool there. Do we struggle like everybody else? Hell yeah. But is our stuff great? Our wine production partners and winemakers are incredible. Our product is fun. We have fun wine that you can enjoy when you get off work at 5 o'clock. If you get home at 6:45, by 6:52, After you change into your comfortable clothes, you can be popping some flow and getting your flow on. That's how we designed it. So,
And
man, stop.
well, it's got to be insulting. I could appreciate, just the passion that I hear in your voice, that, how insulting that is. I think people don't really think about it. I don't think there's any malicious intent or anything like that. I think people are accustomed to just wanting a hookup without realizing that's not the way to support people.
I don't think they asked that. I would love to see, since we're doing all these great social studies right now, right? And all this social science, I'd love to see how they ask their white counterparts for things.
Yeah, we do this to each other, and it's not cool.
I believe that they come to us. Well, girl, you made it. So, can you can you help me out? And the thing is, I would love to. Do me a favor. Send me something that where you're coming. Hey, Marcus, I'm coming to your gig tonight. I bought a ticket and I'm low on dough. Can you buy me and my girl a drink? I would jump through a hoop to support you there when you're meeting me halfway versus like, you don't know what my daughter's doctor bills are. You know what I'm saying? You don't know, in times like losing my dad, you don't know what I've gone through. And it's a lack of consideration. You say you don't think it's malicious. I just think it's inconsiderate. And I think that what we need to do in our community, right? There's a lot of stuff we can talk about in other communities. I think in our community, we have got to be deliberately considerate about how we spend our time, how we spend our money, in the words that we speak, because they actually have the ability to manifest into evil or good.
Yeah, I agree. And that's why we're talking about that right now. I think it's a mindset that we need to change. I think if, people want to hear good music, they are willing to pay for it. If they want to have a good glass of wine, they're willing to pay for it. There's a value to it. And why not support your Black, brother, your Black sister? Why not buy Black? Not looking for a discount, like really support. And you'll get the same thing in return. So I'm glad we brought that up. I think it's the conversation has to come up a lot because, again, I think it's a mindset. I think it's a mindset because it's across the board. It's not just any one thing. It's just across the board. We look to each other for the hookup and we have to stop that. We have to realize that, hey, it's not cool, because I'm telling you, Marcus, I don't think people really think about it before they do it. It's an automatic. Oh, you're selling this. Well, what's my price? Well, it's the price. It's the price that you see. It's the price.
And you really want to tell people, like, go down the street and ask them what your price is for their thing. You know what I mean? And again, I think you mentioned it being mindless. I again think it is a lack of consideration, because if I were to ask them immediately off the bat for a discount on whatever it is that they do or sell, they would have the same reaction that we're having here and that we're talking about. Like, look, man, I don't mind helping out. I do a ton of stuff in the community. I'm helping out all over the place. Can you come there? I'll give you a bottle of wine. Show me a little bit. And I think that is something that we can't give them a go pass, or get out of, jail free, and they excuse that, analogy, but just like, we can't give them a free pass. You must be considerate.
You have to be considerate, but I'm telling you, I believe it's a mindset. It's a mindset. And we have to break out of that mindset. And talking about it helps. Oh,
Absolutely.
Somebody put this. Bernie, my sentiments exactly from having a business. I was always giving people the best price possible, but only my people would ask for the hookup. And I would just say, have a good day. That's a good way to do it. Have a good day.
See ya. Deuces. Hey, what's my discounted price? 2, as in deuces. See you later, player.
You're going to learn today. Marcus, I love talking to you. I think, you're just one of those people who you always find a way, and, again, you went against the thinking of work all the time and it's going to be bad for business. You showed people work all the time, work as much as possible. There's nothing better for business. If you say you want to work, do the work. And my friend, you're doing the work.
Thank you. I mean, it's this whole thing has been hard. I mean, I had 30 performances canceled between March and now.
I'm sorry.
And I mean, I thank God that I did do the educational work early and ended up, honestly, what's funny, you say I find a way, and I say God finds the way. But I have flipped most of my customers that were venues and organizations into, the Marcus Johnson 360 communications clients. So now me and my team, where we were doing social media for gigs, now we're creating social media campaigns for organizations like the National Center for Children and Family, where we're doing a 3-month media campaign for them, helping them to reposition their nonprofit. I mean, they're a $50 million a year nonprofit, to helping the community with abandoned kids and families, but putting a social media campaign that has a culmination event, but it's really about building the relationship and awareness about the organization. So we just got back from, meeting with another organization in Southern Maryland / Northern or, Central Virginia on the Potomac. We're looking at doing some things with them, but you have to define yourself. The only thing, the thing that God gave us in free will that we don't really talk about using is our imagination. And your imagination, even when you're figuratively locked up, is the thing that God gave you with the law of assumption, with the law of attraction, with faith, with your works, that, man, if you just imagine and speak it and work towards it, it actually does manifest. So
Mark,
we've been able to flip. Yeah.
So right. That's what this pause is for. I mean, look at the bright side. That's what this pause is for. I'm seeing so many businesses that are starting, people, working in jobs that they weren't really happy in. And, right now, just as you said, it's the time to imagine, if you didn't have that job, you didn't have to go back to that job. What would be the dream? What is the dream? And claim that and start working towards it. Now, the comment section is going a little crazy right now. And somebody pointed out that you're sitting right there at your keyboard. I'm just saying, if you felt like doing a little something for us. Thank you, Darlene. Why are you sitting at your keyboard, Marcus?
Let me see something. I can probably, I have the ballad CD that just came out. So maybe we can, and this is what we're talking about, being, oops, that's not it. Really, it's not. Yeah, but being very, you there? Okay,
yeah.
There you go. So wait a minute. One of the songs just my song disappeared on me. Oh, there we go. About to say, wait a minute. So this is about thankfulness and being, rather fortunate. And it's on my CD ballads. You can see the rest. Come look this weekend, Saturday. A little fun.
Oh my goodness, that was beautiful. That was beautiful.
Awesome.
Yeah. Thank you. So this is on your new project? That's what you're
Yeah,
saying?
it's on ballads. Yeah. It came out in August. Yeah, so that and my look, man, 2018 was horrible. I mean, at the end of 2018, I ended up in the hospital. And I ended up in there. I mean, I was on stage and had so much stress. I just buried a 38-year-old friend that was like a little sister. I had broken up with my girl. I've been going through, child co-parenting drama. And I was on the stage and I thought I was about to die. And of course, it was a panic attack and forced me with two mental health professionals as my parents to really go introspectively and have a doctor look at me and laugh and say, "You're probably the healthiest, 47-year-old guy I know. I've seen. You need to let whatever you're dealing with go." And that was a wake-up call because, that stuff begins to manifest into physical things that take you out of here. So
stress is a killer. Yes.
Yeah, man. Decided to go ahead and get a therapist. Started reading a lot of books on, me and letting go, getting close to God, getting close to the Bible, really being in the now.
So good, that's good. Yeah. And, just that awareness and that growth, I'm sure it comes out in your music as well.
And that's where we got ballads. I mean, it's ballads in my voice. And I did that because through all that craziness, I found my voice and it's my ballads. And I love my covers that I play. I love stuff I write, but doing the Joe thing. I mean, doing that.
You can play as much as you want. Don't let me stop you.
I hear you. But it's just fun stuff. I mean, that's it. And so I decided to put that album up.
I'm so happy to see you and so happy that you're doing well and you're healthy and you're getting ready to get back out there. And I'm just always so proud of you, my friend. I really am.
Thank you so much. I mean, and likewise, you do the same thing. You've been rolling about the same amount of time that I've been rolling. I swear you look the same. So whatever it is you're eating, you need to put that in a book if you haven't already and promote that. Like, this is what you eat to maintain this. I love it.
Let's write that book together because we're, drinking the same water, it looks like.
I hear you. I'm down.
So tell everyone how they can get their tickets if it's not sold out yet for this weekend, how they can stay in touch with you on social media, and how they can pay full price for your wine and for everything else.
So I'll tell you, the easiest thing to do is, if you forget what I'm about to tell you, put Marcus Johnson and Keystone Corner into Google. It'll get you the tickets. But go to marcusjohnson360.com, and it really is the portal for everything. If you hit the events page, it will take you to the link for our tickets for Saturday night at Keystone Corner, which is an institution in and of itself. It started in San Francisco. The guy brought it over here, Todd Barkin, in Baltimore. And our show, we have an 7:30 and 9:30. But get your ticket at which one. I do the earlier show to make sure, because we may only do one, depending upon the amount of people. And always with the wine, you can put Marcus Johnson and wine in Google, and it'll pop up. Or if you go to buyflowwine.com, you can see our website. You can see the story behind the building of the brand, our brand philosophy, etc. And then you can go down to the Order Now button, click that, and we will get you to our fulfillment partner, where you can order our Chardonnay. We have a red blend and a Moscato, and we can get it to your doorstep within a few days.
I'm going to do that too, because you know what? Wine is always a good gift. When you're visiting people, you never want to show up empty-handed. I don't drink. I haven't drank any alcohol since I was like 23, and I just decided it's just not for my constitution. It just doesn't work. But
Yeah, there you go.
But I love the taste of wine. If I'm with someone and they have a glass of wine, I'll take a sip or whatever. But I'm always buying good wine to give as gifts. So,
hey, and I know a brand that would love. Your support. So we tell people to flow with us if they can. And,
I'm flowing with you, Marcus.
Yeah, and then at Marcus Johnson 360 on social media, and at Flow Wine 360 for the wine brand. And man, reach out, say hello, let us know what you're liking, what we're doing, and and whatever we can make better. We realize that we're not perfect, so we welcome any kind of constructive criticism, and just the support, man, and what we can do to support the community in return.
That's beautiful. Criticism, compliments are accepted as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Marcus, thank you for spending time with us this evening. It's been a pleasure. Keep doing what you're doing. Sell it out this weekend like you always do.
Thank you so much, Angela. You keep doing your thing. And thank you to everybody who's helping you, for keeping us smiling, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Marcus. See you soon.
All right, bye.
You're watching HUR at Home. Thank you so much for joining us. This has been such a pleasure. Two brilliant young men. Make sure you keep up with them. They told you how to do it. Ryan Wilson, The Gathering Spot, soon to be The Gathering Spots. I'm so happy that it's coming to Washington, D.C. And of course, Marcus Johnson doing his thing, and support his Flow Wine. That was a very important conversation we had earlier. And it's important that we support both of them. I'm going to do it, and I know you're going to do it too. So we'll see you at the next one. And thank you so much for listening to your favorite radio station, keeping us number one at 96.3 WHUR. Sounds like Washington. Have a good night.